Hi there crafty pals, Louise with you today. Thanks for checking out this video. It is my first share for the month of March for Kitaholic Kits. Firstly, what I've done is I've taken the kit elements, which were the stamp and the die cut that matched, and I've stamped a bunch on patterned paper and then die cut them off camera. I didn't want you to have to sit through this process. I really want to show you how I'm going to make this background, and so I've cut a heap of those off camera. I've used a mix of some different coloured patterned papers and some plain coloured papers as well. Now at the moment, I'm really enjoying using mixed media backgrounds. This is kind of a phase that I go through, and you might be a bit the same, but I'm going to roll with this. So I'm starting with a white cardstock background, not coloured of course, a white background, and I haven't prepped it in any way. I want to create a little bit of a watercolour background and give my frames something to overlay. So when it's part of my process, I like to at least have my photos ready in some format so that I sort of know how I want to achieve this. And I want to add this colour from that sort of not completely left corner but partially towards the left, and move it in almost like a triangle sort of shape down to this bottom section of the layout. So this is using the packaging technique. So I've pre-sprayed a little bit of water onto my white background, and you can see that I'm just going through and adding color and spreading it around using my watered down paintbrush if it's too intense in its pigment. And by using like colors, so in this case shades of teal and blue, I can actually blend these in and get some really different mixed kind of colors. Now, I have all my sprays in a little container and I have them all swatched so that when I want to do something like this, I find it much easier that I can actually just look at my swatches and pull out the colors that I know I want to use in a background. So I find with you, if you're going to have a go at this technique, try really minimalizing your approach. So only add little bits of color at a time, then blend in, then maybe add some splatters, as you can see like I've done in this particular case, and go back and add as much or as little color as you need. But the effect is really quite interesting, and it's going to be different each time you do it, but you'll get something quite different if you just add small bits of color rather than just a whole lot of one color on the background and then try to blend it in with other colors. So the trick to this type of background is really just that less is more approach. Add a little bit here and there with a brush if you need to, and really just work at building that base up. So it doesn't just go on as a splatter. You really have to take your time and blend small amounts. All right, so now that I'm quite happy with how that background looks, you can see I have overlaid those cut frames and I've glued those down and let them set off camera. I've mounted my photos up with a little bit of cardstock just to give them some dimension. I've pulled a few little bits and pieces from those sort of summer ephemera and having a bit of a play around with how these elements are going to fit into that background. So you can see that I didn't actually start with the idea of having this little right hand section colored. So while I was sort of staring at this page and thinking, how am I embellishing it? How am I telling the story? The little ephemera piece with the ice creams on it kind of inspired me to pop some frames behind it. And because I was going to reuse those frames, I really wanted to add some more of that color. It was just lucky that I hadn't actually cleaned out my palette, so I was planning on pulling out an art journal and using this same technique on an art journal page just in the background. I find that it's a great way just to use up the little bits of color that you've got left, and it preps and pre-prepares like an art journal background. You could also do it on another white cardstock. You could team it with another color or do some wet stamping and things like that. So don't ever flush your color down the drain. Save it and use it in different places. It'll help you create some really interesting backgrounds. So this was still wet in the palette, and I just sort of reactivated it, grabbed it with a little bit of water and the paintbrush, started again with just a little piece, having a bit of a play around to see how I actually want those frames to sit with that little ice cream piece as well. And of course I do like my things in threes, so I do go with 3 frames, which kind of extends it out a little bit further into the white space of this layout than I would have preferred. But I actually don't hate the finished product. I think that the colors really mesh well together, and by the time I settle into doodling a border with a black pen just to sort of finish it off, I feel like it really does get the right effect, and I'm pretty happy with how this one turned out. So for embellishing, I am using lots of the little sticker pieces. I have got some hearts on there. I'm using some of those circles, those enamel dots, and then for the final stages, once I'm pretty happy with that placement and everything's dried, sticking it all down and adding a little title with some of the pops of gold. So this particular layout, absolutely inspired by the frames, so cutting my own frames from those pattern papers, getting my mixed media on with that sort of watercolor background, and creating a fun ice cream summer themed page. I hope you enjoyed that. I thank you so much for watching and checking out the video, and please make sure that you are subscribed to Kitaholic Kits.